22-year-old TikToker Justin Guzman is accused of fatally shooting a U.S. Marine veteran in front of the young man's fiancée and young child. The accused shooter surrendered to police in Houston, Texas last week and is now charged with the murder of 30-year-old Anthony Sanders, who was killed in early June. Guzman's arrest came after he posted at least one TikTok video containing references to the shooting, which took place during a confrontation outside a shopping mall. According to reports, Sanders confronted Guzman and his alleged accomplice, 23-year-old Marco Sinan, after they insulted his fiancée in an elevator. He then tried to drive away from the conflict but was brake-checked by his assailants and was shot 10 times after exiting his vehicle to deal with the situation. Guzman's defense attorney is arguing that his client acted in self-defense after the victim threatened him with a knife, but there was no evidence at the scene to indicate that Sanders was armed. Guzman and Sinan are currently being held on $750,000 and $1 million bond as they await their next court hearings. Number 22. Kelsey Fitzsimmons. 28-year-old off-duty police officer Kelsey Fitzsimmons was shot in the chest by a colleague in North Andover, Massachusetts, while being served with a restraining order last week on Monday. 3 officers were at her home when an armed confrontation occurred, resulting in one officer's decision to discharge their weapon. Fitzsimmons was airlifted to the hospital and survived, but the future of her law enforcement career now hangs in the balance. According to court records, Fitzsimmons' fiancé, a local firefighter, feared that she would kill him and their infant son. He expressed concerns over the young woman's reaction to being served with a restraining order, especially since she had a license to carry a concealed weapon, which had been suspended due to her ongoing postpartum mental health issues. Fitzsimmons had also been placed on administrative leave for this reason, but had been cleared to return to work when the shooting occurred. Her fiancé is pursuing full custody of their son, and it's unclear whether she'll face criminal charges. Number 21. Alice Ashton. A British schoolteacher named Alice Ashton has been fired from her job in Welshpool, Wales for drinking alcohol and spewing profanities at her students during a lesson. A student who witnessed the bizarre ordeal told the Telegraph that Ashton smelled of alcohol and was chugging an orange liquid from a water bottle when she interrupted the class to make everyone do the Macarena dance. She also reportedly called her students inappropriate names and wagged her finger just inches from one pupil's face, according to the witness, described as typically reserved and quiet. Ashton was much more lively and animated than usual during the bizarre lesson. She had been convicted of drunk driving just 4 months prior to the incident. During the class, she became increasingly irritable and frustrated with her students. She denied her erratic behavior to school officials, who deemed eyewitness accounts of the strange events to be credible. Based on CCTV footage, Ashton will be eligible to reapply for teaching jobs in 2 years and has relocated to England following her dismissal. Number 20. Ishaan Sharma. 21-year-old Ishaan Sharma of Newark, New Jersey made the regrettable decision to attack a fellow passenger in an unprovoked fashion during a Frontier Airlines flight from Philadelphia to Miami-Dade, leaving him with a visible black eye. The plane was approaching its destination when Sharma allegedly grabbed Keanu Evans, who was sitting behind him, by the throat for no apparent reason. Evans later told local station WSVN that prior to the assault, Sharma was saying strange things, laughing, and making death threats. Concerned by the young man's behavior, Evans hit the assistance button, which seems to be what set off Sharma's temper. Viral footage of the incident showed Evans quickly taking control of the situation by punching Sharma repeatedly. In the meantime, a passenger could be heard pleading with Evans to let Sharma go, making it clear that the victim had gained the upper hand. Sharma was taken into custody when the plane landed and is facing a battery charge. His defense attorneys are arguing that Sharma was meditating and that Evans was upset by the religious practice. Number 19. Meanna Torigoe. Disturbing new footage surfaced last week of a New York City woman who was once accused of murder being fatally struck by a subway train. 24-year-old Meanna Torigoe climbed down a ladder onto the tracks at the Union Square station to relieve herself despite the presence of a sign warning commuters to stay out of the area. In the video, she could be seen disappearing into the tunnel before emerging in a panic just moments later. Torigoe tried to outrun an oncoming L train, but the train hit her just as she grabbed onto the ladder. She was violently dragged along the tracks while shocked onlookers backed away from the platform's edge. The young woman was pronounced dead at the scene, and authorities do not suspect foul play. Torigoe made news headlines back in 2022 when she and her then boyfriend were charged with the murder of her roommate, who was beaten and stabbed to death during an argument over noise. While the outcome of this previous case is unclear, records show that she was on probation for a weapon-related charge at the time of her death. Number 18. Chicago mass shooting. 4 people were killed and at least 14 others were injured in a drive-by shooting at a Chicago nightclub on Wednesday night. The gunfire erupted at around 11 o'clock p.m. outside the Artist Restaurant and Lounge in the city's near North Side neighborhood, where guests were leaving an album release party for the rapper Mellow Bucks. Included among the slain victims were 2 women aged 21 and 32 and 2 men aged 24 and 25, while 4 of the surviving victims were hospitalized in critical or serious condition. No arrests have been made, but police believe that there are several shooters and are currently working to identify and locate the individuals responsible for the carnage. Number 17. Salvador Valdiviezo. Newly surfaced body cam footage shows the bizarre shootout with law enforcement that left 35-year-old U.S. Navy veteran Salvador Valdiviezo dead and a female police officer injured. The video, which was released to the public last week, shows Valdiviezo seemingly provoking the officers who were chasing him through El Paso, Texas, after they responded to a family violence call at his residence. Valdiviezo was armed and standing in the driveway when the police arrived. He opened fire on the cops as the female officer ordered him to put his hands up. The officer returned fire while seeking protection behind parked vehicles. In the meantime, Valdiviezo also continued shooting at law enforcement while also hiding behind cars. He continuously refused to follow orders and was shot in the chest and leg, resulting in his death. Around 24 shots were fired during the exchange of gunfire, which lasted for around 40 seconds. The circumstances leading up to the incident remain unclear. Number 16. Fireworks warehouse explosion. Human remains have been found at the site of a fireworks warehouse explosion in rural Northern California, where 7 people went missing following an explosion and subsequent fire that took place on Tuesday. The tragedy occurred in the Esparta area, where the flames quickly spread to nearby farm fields. In a statement, Yolo County authorities stated that they did not know how many people the remains belonged to. The surrounding area was still on fire and no identifications had been made. Investigators are currently working to determine the cause of the explosion, and family members of the deceased will be notified before the public as the remains are identified. Number 15. Remoin Patton. According to reports that surfaced this past week, the 62-year-old uncle of Outkast founder Antoine Big Boy Patton was murdered during a road rage shooting in Atlanta last month. The body of Remoin Patton was found dead by officers while responding to a 911 call at around 5:30 p.m. on June 16th. Police reports state that Patton got into a verbal confrontation with someone while driving between the city's Washington Hill and Vine City neighborhoods. He was shot in the back during the argument, causing him to lose control of his vehicle and crash into a vacant house. Patton was pronounced dead at the scene, where his car was found on the front porch and crashed into a wall. The accused gunman, 18-year-old Bryan Kohberger, turned himself into law enforcement and is charged with murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He remains held without bail, while another suspect, 32-year-old Janisha Kohberger, was freed after posting a $30,000 bond following her arrest for hindering the apprehension of a fugitive. Number 14. Brian Tarrence. A New York City couple's romantic Caribbean getaway ended in a troubling mystery after 51-year-old Brian Tarrence wandered away from their Airbnb during the early morning hours and never returned. He was last seen on surveillance footage heading toward a busy tourist area on Turks and Caicos Island, 3 days into his week-long trip with his wife of 1 year. His disappearance triggered a large-scale search that is still ongoing but has been unsuccessful in its efforts to find him thus far. It remains unclear whether Tarrence chose to vanish for some reason, if he had an accident of some sort, or if he met with foul play. According to a private investigator hired by the man's family, nothing seemed out of the ordinary before he went missing. Tarrence took his wallet and cell phone with him and was in a very safe area when he disappeared. His wife was sleeping at the time, and investigators are currently working to obtain records of his phone activity in hopes of gaining new leads. Number 13. Nicholas Stanley. 35-year-old Nicholas Stanley had no problem admitting in a recent jailhouse interview with ABC 57 News that he purposely tracked down and killed a convicted predator who abused one of his relatives. The incident occurred on June 24th, just weeks after the victim, Alan Cogswell, was released from prison following a 7-year sentence. Stanley knocked on the door of the hotel room in Elkhart, Indiana, where Cogswell was staying, and fatally shot him when he answered. During the interview, Stanley said he was tired of acting like he did something wrong when he doesn't truly feel that this is the case. He blatantly admitted to killing Cogswell and said that he didn't regret protecting his family but pleaded not guilty to murder in court and is scheduled to go to trial in October. Number 12. Sophia Hutchins. 29-year-old Sophia Hutchins, a longtime friend of Caitlyn Jenner and former Trump campaign surrogate, died in an ATV crash near Jenner's Malibu home on Wednesday. Reports state that the young woman was riding a four-wheeler on a road when She rear-ended a moving car, sending both her and the quad tumbling down a 350-foot ravine. Hutchins was pronounced dead at the scene, and no other injuries were reported. According to police, speed was a factor in the crash. Based on the evidence at the scene, investigators believe Hutchins unintentionally rushed up behind the other vehicle and lost control of the ATV while attempting to maneuver around it. Authorities are currently awaiting toxicology test results before speculating about whether they believe drugs or alcohol played a role in the tragedy. Number 11. Chrystofer Whyte. A suspect has been charged with the murder of 18-year-old TikToker and high school athlete Chrystofer Whyte, who was fatally shot on a New Jersey beach last month. Reports state that he was struck at least once by the gunfire while at Pier Village in Long Branch. He was pronounced dead at the scene, and an unnamed juvenile suspect was charged with multiple crimes, including murder and unlawful possession of a weapon. The suspect's alleged accomplice, 18-year-old Dwayne Exilis, was charged with 2 weapon-related crimes. Authorities have yet to specify a motive, but according to White's friends, local youths were recently caught antagonizing the victim and calling him names during his TikTok videos. In one of his final videos, posted just hours before his death, White emphasized the importance of steering clear of people who only contact a friend when they need something. However, it remains unclear whether the suspects were involved in the bullying or if they knew White in the first place. Number 10. Marites Buenafe. A 62-year-old doctor from Kentucky named Marites Buenafe mysteriously vanished on Tuesday afternoon after going on a solo hike in Juneau, Alaska, during a cruise. She took a tram to a nearby mountain and failed to return to the ship by the time it left port, sparking an intensive search effort. 3 days later, her body was found roughly 1,700 feet below a ridgeline. Her body has since been recovered and is slated to undergo an autopsy to determine her cause and manner of death. Number 9. Texas flooding. At least 24 students went missing from a Christian summer camp near Kerrville, Texas, amid catastrophic flooding after the Guadalupe River overflowed due to an unexpected early morning downpour. Authorities have confirmed the death toll at 24 so far, but it's unclear whether the victims were the missing summer camp students. In the meantime, nearly 240 survivors have been rescued from the floodwaters, including 167 people who were airlifted to safety via helicopter. The remaining number of missing persons remains unclear. Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed an emergency declaration for several counties in and around San Antonio during a press conference on Friday evening. As the search efforts continue, officials have advised the public to avoid affected areas where emergency personnel are looking for missing victims. Number 8. Frederick Marshall. In a shocking case of vigilante justice, a group of subway riding New Yorkers attacked a man for assaulting a woman at a Brooklyn subway station. According to police, 42-year-old Frederick Marshall bear-hugged the 20-year-old female victim from behind and followed her onto the train, where the 2 strangers were seen arguing. The woman could be heard screaming for help in viral cell phone footage, which shows several male bystanders rushing to her aid. When a verbal command to let the victim go failed, the Good Samaritans physically intervened and pulled the woman away from her attacker. They then proceeded to beat Marshall, who was charged with assault, criminal possession of a weapon, attempted assault, and harassment. Despite the alarming nature of the allegations he faces, the judge granted supervised release during his arraignment because the charges are not bail eligible under New York state law. Number 7. Diogo Jota. Liverpool star and Portuguese soccer legend Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva died on Thursday night after their Lamborghini crashed and burst into flames near the Spanish city of Zamora. While the cause of the crash remains under investigation, police believe the accident may have been caused by a blown tire. Jota's death came just 10 days after he married his childhood sweetheart and the mother of his 3 children, Ruth Cardoso. He had shared news of the wedding just hours prior to the wreck in an Instagram post and was looking forward to his future, blissfully unaware that it was about to be cut tragically short. Number 6. Michael Madsen. 67-year-old actor Michael Madsen has died from cardiac arrest. He passed away at his home in Malibu, California on Thursday and was pronounced dead at 8:25 a.m. after being found unresponsive by emergency personnel. Madsen was best known for his roles in the hit films War Games, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Donnie Brasco, and Kill Bill Volume 2. Number 5. Marissa Dinapoli. A body has been found in Morgan Hill, California, near where a missing young woman, 18-year-old Marissa Dinapoli, was last seen with her so-called obsessive boyfriend. Dinapoli disappeared near Anderson Lake County Park, where she was seen leaving a residence with her ex-boyfriend, Martin Mendoza. This caused great concern among her loved ones, especially since she had recently told them that she thought Mendoza would kill her. Dinapoli's car was found abandoned at the park, and Mendoza was reportedly uncooperative with the investigation, although the pair were no longer dating, and despite Dinapoli's concerns for her own safety, the two had reconnected as friends in the months leading up to her death. The investigation is ongoing. Number 4. Edward Ron Acosta. 78-year-old Edward Ron Acosta, who founded the popular Las Palapas Mexican restaurant chain, was reportedly killed by his mentally ill nephew, who traveled from California to Texas to commit the murder. According to reports, 39-year-old David Ruiz was suffering from paranoid delusions and believed people were out to kill him. When he left his home in Southern California armed with a pistol, unaware of the gravity of the danger that lurked, Acosta invited Ruiz to spend the night at his home. He knew Ruiz was mentally ill and planned to hold a family meeting, but it never happened because he was stabbed to death before any sort of intervention could occur. Acosta was pronounced dead at the scene, and Ruiz is awaiting extradition to Bexar County on a first-degree murder charge. Number 3. Bryan Kohberger. A notorious accused killer pleaded guilty last week to murdering 4 college students in their sleep at their Moscow, Idaho home in November of 2022. 30-year-old Bryan Kohberger avoided the death penalty by admitting to the slayings of Madsen Mogan, Kaylee Goncalves, Shana Knodel, and Ethan Chapin, who were all stabbed to death by a home intruder during the early morning hours. By taking a plea deal, in addition to dodging the death penalty, Kohberger will be spared from the most incriminating details of his crimes being exposed. He will also avoid having to provide a detailed confession of the killings, leaving his motive shrouded in mystery. Number 2. Kouri Richins. 33-year-old accused killer Kouri Richins is now facing additional charges relating to the murder of her husband, Eric, who was poisoned to death with fentanyl at the couple's Summit County, Utah home in February of 2022. According to news reports, she has been slapped with a dozen new counts for financial crimes, including moving money through a shell business and forging documents. She also allegedly obtained a $250,000 line of credit on Eric's premarital home without his knowledge and funneled the money into her failing real estate business. According to prosecutors, Eric learned about some of Kouri's shady financial dealings in 2020, sparking marital tensions that ultimately led to his murder. Kouri is perhaps best known for writing a children's book about grief following Eric's death, which she was featured on TV for prior to becoming a suspect in the case. Number 1. Wess Roley. 20-year-old Wess Roley was found dead after deliberately setting a fire in a wooded area near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, to trigger an emergency response, then shooting at responding firefighters. He opened fire from a concealed position as emergency personnel responded to the scene on Canfield Mountain, killing 2 victims and critically injuring a third. Roley's actions have shocked his family, who said that he wanted to be a firefighter and had given them no reason to believe he would commit such a horrific act. He was found dead from a gunshot wound near the crime scene, which means that he took his motives to the grave. The case remains surrounded by unanswered questions as relatives and the authorities alike try to understand the reasoning behind Roley's actions.